Hello, it's me, Danyell Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer. Welcome to Everything Aquarius. We are going to talk about it all. If you are new to astrology, you're going to be excited about this. If you know someone who's an Aquarius, if you feel like you're an Aquarius, if you want to learn about Aquarius energy, if you already know about astrology, this is going to be for everyone. I also have a playlist of all the other zodiac signs. Aquarius, I am saving you. You are the best for last. All the other signs, I do this breakdown. Not only do I talk about the individual person who has a strong energy in Aquarius, I talk about how they look. I talk about them in relationships. I talk about them in money and career. We even talk about the energy because I am an astrologer and that's what I like to do. So we get into it. Let's get started.
3, 2, 1.
I love you. First of all, before I get started, please don't forget, if you love astrology, please thumbs up and subscribe. I want you guys to understand I put a lot of work in all of my videos, just like any other YouTuber. So that would really help me out a lot. Or if you're listening to this via my podcast, then go ahead and download this episode, or just share this with people who love astrology, or share it with your favorite Aquarius. Also, I sell an ebook if you really want to know more and not just the basics and the general energy of Aquarius. You really want to know about your chart. I have an ebook that I sell and it's at an affordable price, and you can break down your own chart just by reading this ebook. So now we can officially get started. This Aquarius is in Latin, it means water carry. Aquarius energy starts January 20th to February 18th. It is a masculine yang sign, so that is all the air and fire signs. A masculine sign is extroverted. They radiate their energy outward, and they could be spontaneous. They're very active. They're very bold. They're very fearless. They move forward in life with the desire to enjoy everything that the world has to offer them. They transfer inspiration and positivity onto others, and they experience that gift back. And this is what they offer the universe. And introverted energy is more feminine signs, and that's earth and water, and are more introverted. And I say we are more introverted because I have a lot of that energy as well. The element, which is the triplicity, is the air sign. It is about the intellectual energy. It's more the innovator. It is very communicative. It's very social. And like all the air signs, Aquarius is all about their intellect. It is intellect driven. It's all about communication. And when you're talking about communication, you're not just talking about talking like I'm doing, or researching and reading, because all that is that part of that intellect and communication. But you're also talking about walkie-talkies and cell phones and navigation. All that is a part of Aquarius energy. And Aquarius is also focused on the ideas rather than the emotion. Now, Aquarius rules the airways and global technology, and it enables us to have a click of a button. We are instantly in touch with the world. That's very Aquarius energy. Aquarius is the last rational air sign of the zodiac, so it really embodies the community and networks of people who share the same interests. That's when you have the groups. So you have like fraternities, you have what your sport is or your hobby. If you're in a network or a community or some type of group, then that also is Aquarius energy. It's very mental, it's very social, and it has that shared experience. And Aquarius is the thinker of the zodiac. When you are dealing with someone who is very intelligent and it can process information very well, you're most likely talking to someone who has a Mercury in Aquarius, or someone who has some strong Aquarius placements, or maybe just a Sun in Aquarius. That could be possible. Mode and equality is there are fixed signs. So Aquarius is a fixed sign, so it is stable, it is determined, it is focused. And because you're talking about Aquarius and intellect for the most part, that means they have very fixed opinions, okay? They have a vision, they commit to it, and it's their belief. This reminds me of Terrence Howard. I did like a quick video on him, so go ahead and check that out. But he was giving major Aquarius energy, and they're intense and they're very concentrated, and they're very fascinating and alluring. And Aquarius is very assertive and independent and progressive and analytical and original and inventive, and they have dislikes and they have very firm opinions, okay? That's when you will see most of the fixated energy. Now, the ruling planet, they have two ruling planets, and they have Uranus and they have Saturn. Uranus is their modern ruling planet, and Saturn is their traditional ruling planet. And this makes them pretty much like a paradox. This makes them very contradicting. So Uranus is the planet of innovation, rebellion, and unpredictability, where Saturn is responsible. There's structure, there's discipline. Governed by both of these planets, Aquarius is disciplined and it's rebellious, and it's structured with innovation, and it's personal freedom with the collective responsibility. Saturn requires stability and commitment, while Uranus demands freedom and variety. Of these two together makes them different people, sometimes within the same time. Saturn again gives that Aquarius that ability to organize, where Uranus has the energy of looking into the future and engineering and space travel and computers and being fascinated and being responsible with that. And that's where the Saturn adds to it. Aquarius has a lot of contradictions, and that is because of this energy. So they are a part of a team, they're a part of the group, but then they want to be the individual and they want to have a lot of alone time. They also, because of Uranus, they can come off very different from the group. So for example, if they're in a family and it's very conservative, then all of a sudden they're the hippie of the family, okay? It will be the atheist while the family is very religious. And that can give that Saturn and Uranus aspect, and they're very serious about whatever they are out of the box. Uranus is the stronger planet that people really associate Aquarius with. And Uranus was first discovered in 1781. And this is when you had aerodynamics and modern science. And Aquarius loves that innovation and that discovery and that forward thinking. It also explains the unpredictability part of Aquarius. And you have that. And in 1781, the events that basically was important around that discovery also explains Aquarius. So you have the French Revolution, you have the American War of Independence, and not only to mention you have the Industrial Revolution. So Uranus principle therefore includes rebellious, individuality, freedom, new, unconventional ideas, and social and technology advancement. And this is very key of an Aquarius psyche. Uranus represents all things that are very technical, contemporary. Psychologically, it's associated with disassociation as well. Saturn, now that's where we bring the structure, the discipline, the determination. And remember, Aquarius is very fixated on things, so it's very determined. Also, there's a very responsible side, especially when it becomes rebellious. It becomes very responsible and very serious when it wants to rebel and buck against the system. Traditionally, Saturn represents stability and boundaries and moderation and responsibility. Therefore, you have this firm place tradition on old ways moving into the future. So it wants to bring the traditional and make it new. And that is that very Saturn and Uranus. You're always pushing back the boundaries, but you never want to go too far. And they try to test to see how life takes them far. And Saturn is all about the test, okay? The symbol of Aquarius is the water barrier. Even though it's an air sign, a lot of people think that Aquarius is a water sign because you see the symbol pouring out water. But that water is a figure pouring out the knowledge and ideas and innovation and healing energy all to humanity, because Aquarius wants to share their knowledge with humanity and cares about the world. The bearer of the water of knowledge, cleansing and refreshing the collective consciousness, and it loves to share its ideas. It loves spreading knowledge and wisdom and for the good of all. And water rules emotions. Also, you have the motif, and it's like little zigzags, two little zigzags. And this could represent waves. This could represent lightning bolts. This also could represent something that's very futuristic, far as the images, sudden insights as well. This also can represent the water, right? And again, the water barrier with the waves. Also, too, they say it represents ankles, and it's the ruler of ankles. Now, Aquarius is associated with the 11th house, and 11th house represents friendship, groups, social causes, political alliances, long-term goals. Aquarius thrives in these areas. The 11th house also is about adaptive behavior and hopes and wishes. Aquarius also represents the age group 70 to 77. This is a time where you live a long time and you start to question things. You start to say, what happens when I die? What's next? And this is the great beyond. And when people are in their 70s, they start to think about life ending. And this might be more entering a more carefree stage too. So they want the freedom and are entering somewhat of a second childhood. And when you're entering a second childhood, you're retired, but now it's about having fun, and it's about joining a group, caring about your community, having hobbies, and being younger and being more relaxed, having that freedom and independence. You start to be more connected with your community. You see older people always walking around in their neighborhood. This is what I see, at least this is what I witnessed. They're walking around their neighborhood. They're more in touch with their community, and they are thinking about more about the intellect of what happens beyond. And that is what you get with that age group. And now the color for Aquarius is electric blue and neon colors. And remember, blue is the color of the sky, and you have that reflecting the water. This is all connected, and the sky is representing the air. Cities that represent Aquarius is Stockholm, Moscow, Buenos Aires, Vatican, Hamburg, St. Petersburg, and Salzburg. Countries are Russia, Sweden, Poland, Finland, Costa Rica, Greece, Mexico, New Zealand, and Ethiopia. The flowers that represent Aquarius is orchids and irises, and you will probably be drawn to these, or you will want them. Also, two bird of paradise will be great for an Aquarius. Trees that represent Aquarius are fruit trees. Animals that represent Aquarius are large birds, tropical birds, a hawk, and a dolphin. Now, you're probably like, why do I need to know that? If you're really deeply into astrology, these things really helps for predictions. Food that are great for Aquarius, and if you're an Aquarius, it's really great for you to have fresh fruit, yogurt, ginger, garlic, protein bars, and it helps you build your energy. Also, Aquarius tend to focus on intellect and be in their head a lot, and they could sometimes forget to eat. That is all very important. I'll talk about the healthcare a little bit more, but speaking of eating, and now we're into the body parts that Aquarius represents. And remember, you have two ruling planets of Aquarius. So first you have Saturn, and it represents the knees, shins, the calves, the legs, the ankles, and also the pancreas, where we enter Uranus, and that's associated with nervous disorders, fits, spasms, breakdowns, abnormal growth such as tumors, circulation, and the nervous system, the flow of oxygen to the lungs and the bloodstreams. Aquarius can also give you hardened arteries and varicose veins as well, because you're dealing with those legs. The day of the week for Aquarius is it's really more about the planets, but we will say that it's Wednesday and Saturday. Wednesday is more of a mercurial day, but it's about thinking, so we'll put that with Aquarius. Saturday is Saturn, and it used to be about responsibility and traditions, and so that is also Aquarius as well. The key phrase for Aquarius is I elevate and I know, and it's all about the truth. The metal for Aquarius are lead, uranium, and aluminum. The birthstone for Aquarius is aquamarine. I should have brought that. I feel like it looks something like this, aquamarine. Also, aquamarine represents youth, beauty, and happiness. Also, amethyst, which I have a huge amethyst on my desk, and it also helps calm the nerves and strengthens some sexual organs. Gemstones, again, we have obsidian and sapphire. Minerals is lapis lazuli, and it's believed to enhance the intellectual ability in aiding learning. The number for Aquarius is 11, the number of revelation and new order. Now, the polarity of Aquarius, meaning the opposite sign that shares the same axis as Aquarius, if you look at the chart, the opposite sign is Leo. And they have things in common, but Aquarius can learn a lot of things from Leo. First of all, Aquarius is all about the hopes and dreams of the community and their friends and wishes, concerned more about larger issues of the world, and it is personally detached to its own relationship. And if you talk to people who are really with Aquarius, you see that they care about the world and not their personal relationship, where Leo is the complete opposite. They love romance. They care about their relationship. They want attention. They love pleasure. They love affection. They look for things that are fun, and they want to have a good time, and it makes them happy to have these close ties, and they tend to dominate their love affairs, right? Where Aquarius wants their freedom and independence, and Aquarius is more about the intellect, and sometimes they try try to avoid the matters of the heart, where Leo is all about what does the heart say, because it rules the heart. So those are the things that it can learn. Now, you most likely relate to Aquarius if you were born under Aquarius Sun, if you have a moon in Aquarius, if you have an ascendant rising in Aquarius, if you have close aspects to Uranus, meaning like your moon or your sun is close to Uranus and you're a Taurus, that could be possible. And if you were born in Uranus in the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, or the 10th house, you probably relate a lot to Aquarius. Now, let's get into the Aquarius traits. This is where the people, if most of the people who are just into general energy of Aquarius, this is for you. They are the most unique of all the zodiac, okay? They're forward thinking, they're representing innovation, individuality, the pursuit of the greater good. They are innovative, visionaries, always looking ahead. They thrive for original ideas, solutions to improve the future. They're super fun to be around. They're very witty. They're quick to process information. Very chatty, also tolerant and open-minded, very social. They are social butterflies. Also on social media, they probably respond fast. They respond to text messages and emails really fast. They have a bunch of different friends because they're so open-minded. They love to be stimulated mentally. They thrive off of having differences from other people, especially have a Mars and Aquarius. You drive to be different, right? You have the drive to be different. Very energetic. They have interest in politics, social justice in their community. They value freedom. Listen to what I say. Sagittarius and Aquarius, they must have their freedom, okay? They want to be free from all limitations and inhibitions, want to be set apart from the masses. They're often marching to the beat of their own drum. They're humanitarians of the zodiac, okay? They're deeply with social causes. When we had people protesting about Hamas and Gaza, that was Pluto entering in Aquarius, just so you know. Interesting because it was at a higher learning environment, which is also dealing with intellect. Aquarius seeks to make the world a better place. They're very intellectual. Sometimes their brain is too busy. I just want you to understand that. And sometimes they're processing information and they're all about being in their head. They're very logical. They're very curious. They're very analytical. They excel in understanding complex concepts and systems. They're very charismatic, friendly. Because they are independent, they're still very social. And remember, we have this duality energy with them, this contradiction that they have. They attract people with their unique perspective and charm. They approach relationships with an open mind. They're very non-traditional. They're very social responsible. They think outside of the box. When you say genius, you're most likely talking about Aquarius. They're the mavericks. They like to find their tribe. They are for a good cause. They stand for a good cause. They love taking a stand. They're very advanced in the realms of anything knowledgeable, straddle the old and with the new. They reinvent the structure and tradition in modern, and they try to update it. They don't want to get rid of the tradition, but they want to update it. And that is when you have that Saturn and Uranus aspect. Progressive thinker, modern thinker, way ahead of our time. They like to bounce ideas off of people. They process everything through their mind in a logical and reasonable manner. They love to be informed. They love to have debates. They love to learn about philosophy. They could be calm under pressure because they detach from their feelings. They are the ancient of change. They are the seekers of truth. They strive for utopia. They have a hunger for knowledge. They're very rational. They're the reformers. They are the sign that is not sexist, wants to unite the poor and the rich. They are very open when it comes to races, very interested in various cultures. They are fond of literature. They could be very excited about things. They're the altruistic of the sign, the charity of the sign. They're gentle, well-liked, vivacious, optimistic, diplomatic. They have the powers of observation. They can study anything technical like science, computers, and astrology. And astrology also represents Aquarius because you are talking about space, and it also represents Aquarius. They're fair, they're objective, they're very rational because they don't lead with the heart. Progressive, they like to stay current on up-to-date trends, either fashion or anything that's very trendy. They're people watchers. They're addicted to studying human beings. They attract friends wherever they go. They have a tolerance for the weak. They love to be helpful. Because they're so independent, they will sacrifice any close friendship if they are too clingy. Also, they're very loyal because they're fixated, so they will be your friend to the end unless you try to take away their independence. A lot of Aquarius do go into politics because they care about social issues. Now let's talk about the challenges. Aquarius could be very radical. They could be weird. They could be the anarchists. They are sometimes tempted to betray their own convictions to fit in. They're very temperamental, opinionated, detached, aloof, struggle with emotional expression. Now, Aquarius is during the winter time, so they could be a little cold as well, just like our Capricorns who are ruled by Saturn. Speaking of cold, in February, you have that people want to be with other people and have story time. So you have that element. So that's why they get very social. And then at the same time, there is a lot of rain, which represents that water again, that water element. Also to cleansing and being renewed, starting something new, which Aquarius love to have the new. They prioritize their logic over feelings. So back to the negativities. They tend to disconnect from difficult or painful emotions. They prefer to understand and rationalize their emotions. They like to separate them and put them in a box. Also, too, Aquarius like to separate people. They don't want other people to know about other people, like the family, you're over here, the friends, you're over there. Aquarius could low-key turn into a robot because they don't really want to talk about matters of the heart. And again, that's where we have that polarity where Leo is ruled by the sun. And the sun doesn't really like to be in Aquarius because Aquarius does like to be a little cold and detached from the emotions. So there is that. With that said, Aquarius are very rebellious. They resist authority and sometimes tradition just to be different for the sake of being different. They defy society norms and expectations. They're unpredictable. They could be erratic, over-idealistic. When pushed to the limit, they become very stubborn. They don't give up when they believe they are right. They're inflexible, easily distracted. They could be a space cadet, right? They could be out of touch of reality at times. And sometimes that's why a lot of people call Aquarius airheads. It's really because they're really in their head and they're not communicating what they're thinking because they're too lost in the sauce in their head. Sometimes they disappear so far inside their head that they haven't got a clue of what is even going on around them. Also, too, they can tap too much into the virtual world instead of the real world. They're very opinionated. They get bored easily. They're eccentric. They have a fear that other people might be more interesting than them. They hate if someone thinks they're boring. Utterly convinced of certain truths. They buck authority. They're the ones that's going to wear the tinfoil hats, right? Because they question the established norms. They sometimes are paranoid of conspiracy theories because they might be more open to unconventional explanations. So again, that Terrence Howard and his theory, because it's so out of the box, he's like, wait a minute, what is up with the system? Why don't they believe me? And then it starts to be that conspiracy tinfoil hat thing. They're focused on abstract concepts and possibilities. They can tend to be escapism and go into fantasy because they're always in their head. They have the need to always feel special. They could be withdrawn. The ego is weakened when they have unmastered their feelings of inferiority and can lead to dangerous compensation. They could seem a little crazy because they're so unpredictable. They worry a lot. They're unconventional. They're insensitive when it comes to personal feelings. They could be odd individuals, unusual. When others don't agree with them, they take it as a personal attack. They refuse to acknowledge their idea is not working. They are a walking contradiction. They want to relax at home, but they want to be in a social group. They want to travel, but then they need time to reset and be alone. They're very friendly and outgoing, but then they want to be the individual. They are the scientist, but then they are the artist. When they're even at work, sometimes they are two different people at the same time, even at work. They want to not be like anyone in the room, yet they feel uncomfortable because they always feel like they're out of place. They could be argumentative, not just because they feel deeply, but simply because they enjoy intellectual exercise. So if you have Leo placements and Aquarius placements, oh my gosh, that is someone who loves to argue or debate. We'll say debate. Some keywords for Aquarius, back to our just loving astrologers: birds, airmen, aviation, airports, mechanic, astrology, Congress, House of Representatives, legislation, parliament, societies, social affairs, networking, get-togethers, communication, transferring information, clubs, social awareness, group dynamic, collective bonds, friends, kinship, counselors, truth, anything dealing with television and wireless and x-rays, what you wish, a revolution, rebellion, research, paradox, originality, modern, curiosity, surprise, elevation, peculiar, self-knowledge, inspiration, goodwill, discipline, empathy, compassion, also bohemian, transcendence, unemotional bonds, self-employment, your stepchild, your foster child. When you're talking about sexuality, it gets a little bisexual or very out of the box. We'll get into the love dynamic a little bit later. New order, quirks, the unexpected, spiritual awareness, mental link with God, impersonal truth, unorthodox activities. When you are applauding, that is an Aquarius energy. Collective consciousness, detached, progressive, unpredictable, futuristic, inventions, discovery, and innovation. Now, there are 3 types of Aquarius, right? And there are 3 types of every sign. The first decan, that means you're born at the beginning of Aquarius. The middle of Aquarius season, you are born in the second decan. And then the third decan is the last. So the first decan is January 20th to the 29th. And their keyword is knowledge. Their subruler is Uranus. So this is the strongest Aquarius. Everything that I just mentioned earlier, they really are that Aquarius, right? They're really into the intelligence and computing and science and the future. Very social human beings, right? Now, when you are born in a second decan, which is January 30th to February 8th, keyword is frankness, and your subruler is Mercury. Now, Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury, and Mercury is all about communication. So you are a talker, you're very spontaneous. There's a duality that you have, and also too, you are a multitasker, okay? People know they can depend on you when it comes to speaking the truth. Now, the third decan is February 9th to the 18th. Their keyword is association. Their subruler is Venus. Venus is the planet of socializing. So this is the Aquarius that's very friendly. They have a lot of friends. People naturally gravitate to them, and they could be very creative and artistic. They're really into aesthetics and beauty. And they're into romance. And speaking of romance, let's talk about Aquarius and how they are romantically. Now, because Aquarius are very open-minded, they are also open-minded when it comes to love. They're into dating, could possibly be into dating more than one partner, especially if you have that Aquarius and Venus. That could be a possibility. They love friendships, but their partner has to be their friend because they are so into friends. The meeting of the minds makes their relationship last longer. Love across any divide. They don't care about what race, what religion, what culture, what age, what gender. All love is a possibility with them. They have to have a partner who is not boring, is not predictable. Their principles are very important, and that is very important within a relationship. They can't be with someone who's racist. They can't be with someone who's sexist. They have to be with someone who's open-minded. They have to have an intellectual connection. They don't want someone who's dramatic. They can entertain at the beginning, but then they slowly lose it because they're very rational and they can't entertain the subtleties of drama. That is for Leo, which is their opposing sign. They love to have space. They have to have their freedom. So they have to be with someone who gives them that space, even though they're in a relationship. They can have someone who's unique. They can date someone who is different. They don't like to be in the rut. They get bored very easily. They want to keep the spark alive. They can't really tell if someone's attracted to them. Sometimes they are late on a date. Sometimes they're on the phone on the date. Sometimes they may not respond to the text message or the cell phone. That's because they're scattered. They're all over the place. So just be aware of that. They can give mixed messages because they are that hot and cold energy. They get easily distracted. So that's why they wouldn't answer that phone, and they're very unpredictable. They may talk a lot too on that first date, but when you are with an Aquarius, they're very loyal, and even as a friend, they're very loyal. They're better in marriage when they have a chance to mature because they know themselves. So a lot of them don't get married until they're older. That should go for anyone, but Aquarius are a little bit more knowledgeable of that. Aquarius partners have a lot of friends and interests, and they make relationships last a long time. They could fight a lot because they want their alone time. The best matches for Aquarius are Geminis, Libras, and Sagittarius. Geminis is because of the intellectual stimulation. Libras because they're into socializing and fairness. Sagittarius because they're freedom and they want their independence. So that works for an Aquarius. Now, challenging matches would be Leo. Leo wants too much attention for an Aquarius. A Taurus, they want stability, and Aquarius is like, what? I'm too unpredictable for this. Scorpio is very intense, and Aquarius is like, I'm trying to detach. Why are you trying to be so intense? And in Cancer, there's too much emotions, and they're so sensitive, and they could smother poor little Aquarius. Now, what do Aquariuses look like? Air sign people normally look very long and slender and very bony with their linear, and their metabolism moves very fast. Now, fixed signs, they kind of look like a Taurus. So they can either be, an Aquarius could be very linear and skinny, or they could be like square shape or have a strong like muscles or heavy bones. The women could look androgynous, a developed upper body. They have good muscular development in the lower body. They have long, lanky legs. Their neck also could be very long, and the head looks like it's bobbing or floating like a balloon on a string. They have high foreheads. They have soft, wavy, manageable, fine textured hair. They could be fair because it goes with that cold energy. Their body part looks mismatched, which makes them that Uranus, looking very different. They stand up very tall and very straight. And depending on your decan, that changes the way your face looks as an Aquarius. But they could walk very awkward. I find Aquarius risings walk kind of like awkward. But they could dress very eccentric. That's how you know you're dealing with an Aquarius, or maybe a Venus in Aquarius. They have a weird demeanor. And sometimes they could be looking normal, but there's always something off, and that is that Aquarius energy. Now, as far as Aquarius at work, they are very into the science, right? They're the science buff, they're the computer nerd. They want to be in a career that stimulates the mind. They need to be in a challenge mental job so they can process information. 9 to 5 may not work for them because they get bored easily. They don't want their day-to-day routine. They're in fields of science and technology, engineering, space travel. They want to go where people haven't gone before. And Elon Musk has a Mars in Aquarius, and that's very fitting for him. Very scientific, very technical. They have a need to be friendly, and they have to have a very cooperative environment and work environment because they're also very social. They're not too personal when it comes to their career and their colleagues, but they are friendly, but not too friendly, right? Because they set that Saturn boundary. They do not take kindly to be told what to do, so they can't be too much in a restrictive job. They excel at very charitable causes, but it may be more their vocation instead of their job, but it could be their job. They're really good at organization and teams, and they have to have a job where they could collaborate, but then also have their independence as well. Remember, we have that paradox that they have. They're great like contract workers. They need to be in a job where they can innovate, or a job where it's very altruistic. They're very experimental, so they would take the very experimental job. Aquarius is crazy, wacky, weird, and new age thinking. So something that's very odd and out of the box as a career is inventing new food, or like that food that's created by science and it's not in a lab and not created in a farm. That's someone like an Aquarius. They're not really interested in being a boss, but they could be the boss, but they're not really interested in that because they want to be in a team and they want their independence. Somewhat like a Sagittarius. They like to roam. They are a team player with a twist. They think of the big picture. And if they are a leader, they are an innovative leader. So AI, programming, technology, social activism, humanitarian work, science, research, astrology, metaphysics, anything dealing with space exploration. They could be really into the creative arts too. A lot of writers are Aquarius, and filmmakers and design, IT specialists, inventors, astronauts, an airplane pilot or anything dealing with airplanes, a meteorologist, the weather, a social worker, charity fundraiser, website designer, brand ambassador, something dealing with social media because they can predict the future and the trend, market strategist, online business owner, vlogger, podcaster, pilot, anything dealing with TV because they create the TV and it's a form of communication, aerospace, media, broadcasting. They like to work in large groups, so jobs that deal with large groups, human resources, politics, and community relations. When it comes to money, now Aquarius I find to be very cheap. If you say, oh, hey Aquarius, can I borrow $1? And they give you $1. Next week, they're going to say, where's my dollar? And if they don't, they're really thinking about that dollar. I just want you to know that. But because they are so open-minded, they could diverse when it comes to spending or investing their money. They're very trend savvy. So when it comes to stocks, they're probably good with predicting on what is going to be great far as the future. They're not money hungry. So they're into taking care of people and they want to balance the wealth. So that is how they are when it comes to money. They don't pay attention to small details and facts. So they may need an accountant, even though they're good at predicting stocks and not into financial security as much. But they do need their freedom and independence. So that could be something that can make them be more into money. They feel very uncomfortable when it comes to borrowing money, but they are the risk takers. They're very unpredictable with money, sometimes willing to gamble anything for a revolutionary idea. They have wealth for a purpose. When it comes to health, the air element is a very big part of Aquarius in their health. So they need to be outside. They have a sensitive nervous system. Words are very powerful for them, and the ideas and the intellect is very powerful for them. So they have to be very aware of negativity when it comes to people saying things. They have to keep moving. They need to walk because you're talking about the legs. They need to stretch the legs. They will forget to eat, so they need to be careful with that. They could wear things to protect the ankles. That would be important for them, but they have to be outside. They have to open the window. Coldness is probably best for an Aquarius. They can do Tai Chi because it helps them relax the brain, but then it gives them movement. Any sport that is very social, like a running club, that is perfect for an Aquarius. Also, Aquarius likes to experiment with their health because remember, they're the experimentals at Zodiac, and also too, they want to do things that's futuristic and out of the box, and they will experiment on their own health. They need to have laughter. It's very important to them. Also, writing down things when they are dealing with emotions because they are the communicators, and writing really helps them. Also, keeping in touch with their friends and learning a language. Meditation and lavender in a diffuser can help calm their mind. Listening to audiobooks are really important for them. Investing in an air purifier because you are talking about an air sign. They can also use Mozart to calm themselves, reggae, electronic music, flying kites, being around birds, being around butterflies really helps an Aquarius. Strong mental acuity, resilient energy, positive outlook on life, but they can stress and overthink, and that could cause a problem with their nervous system. They need to do yoga. They need to do meditation. They need to do group activities that really helps them. For our spirituality, Aquarius is very futuristic when it comes to spirituality. They're also very mental and logical. Their spirituality tends to focus on a collective improvement and universal connection rather than the personal devotion. They are into metaphysics, so astrology and spirituality is very strong for them. Aquarius and tarot, because I am a tarot reader, the star card represents Aquarius, and it symbolizes hope, renewal, and innovation. It also represents healing. And when you look at the star card, you see a healing aspect, and that's what Aquarius wants to do. They want to heal you with their innovation and their intellect and the truth. Now, holidays that are during Aquarius season is you have the holiday that is in New Orleans that week. I can't think of it. And you also have Carnival that happens during Aquarius season. It's very weird and different. I don't know what that is. You also have Valentine's Day, and you have Chinese New Year's, and all of these things are very social. And the Chinese New Year's is the new moon of Aquarius, and that's bringing something new to something that's very traditional. Valentine's Day, if you see Valentine's Day, it's also connected to Galentine's Day, and it's also really about an element of socializing. So you get that more on Valentine's Day, more than just love. Aquarius' strength in society is to be the trailblazer. I want you to understand that they're here to be unique and to be intellectual and compassion, and it's essential for them to making the world a better place for the future. Now, here are some celebrities that are Aquarius. We have Oprah Winfrey, Sheryl Crow, Alice Walker, Rosa Parks, Etta James, Yoko Ono, Angela Davis, Toni Morrison, Portia de Rossi, Zaza Gabor, Bob Marley, Ellen DeGeneres, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Paul Newman, Travolta, Ashton Seal, Neil Diamond, Sam Cooke, Christian Dior, Balenciaga, Langston Hughes, Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, Chris Rock, Alicia Keys, Michael Jordan, John Grisham, Farrah Fawcett, Natalie Cole, Jennifer Aniston, Justin Timberlake, Kelly Rowland, Megan Thee Stallion, Michael B. Jordan, J. Cole, Kerry Washington, Rick Ross, Stacey Dash, Kenya Moore, Kirk Franklin, Bobby Brown, Gary Coleman, Yara Shahidi, Khalid, Brandy, Gucci Mane, The Weeknd, and Dr. Dre. A famous Aquarius quote is, "Be yourself, embrace your quirks, Being weird is a wonderful thing, said Ed Sheeran. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is my last video of all the zodiac signs, so please check out that playlist. I'm going to next go into either the houses or the planets. Let me know what you want next. And if you guys enjoyed this, please don't forget to give a thumbs up. Also, you guys, I have a group, and in my personal group, I talk about everything astrology. I also talk about tarot. I have several ebooks. Even my ebook is free if you join my group, but I have several ebooks. I have ebooks explaining Venus. I have ebooks explaining your love language. I have ebooks discussing your big three. A lot of things that are resources that are on my community, and it's only $4.99 a month. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye bye.